The clock in Amara Johnson's bungalow read 2:14 a.m. when her daughter, 8-year-old Zuri, clutched her hand and whispered the most shocking words a mother could hear. "Mom, please pretend you're dead. It's the only way to save you." Amara's breath caught. Wind hissed against the window louvers, and the generator throbbed in the yard like a worried heartbeat. Zuri's eyes, wide and steady in the dim light, did not blink. "Zuri," Amara managed. "That's not a game. I'm not playing," Zuri said, voice trembling but fierce. "I heard him. I heard Daddy on the phone. He said he poisoned your tea." For a second, the house seemed to tilt. The hibiscus tea, Amara had set it on her bedside table, half sweet with honey the way she liked. Her hands flew to her throat without meaning to. "How do you know?" "I poured it out. I made new tea. I promised Grandma Ifioma I would learn to brew it right. I did, Mom. I saved you." Zuri's small fingers were sticky with honey. "He said when you pass away, all your father's wealth will be his." He said it like he was happy. Amara stared at the steaming cup Zuri had brought, fresh, safe, made by frightened, careful hands. A whisper of hibiscus drifted up, tart and clean. Her chest ached with something too big for air. She looked past her daughter, down the dark hall toward the living room, where Malik's leather jacket hung over a chair. The man she'd married 2 years ago. The man who laughed with a loud, warm voice and hosted Sunday jollof cookouts for the neighbors. The man who called her queen and braided Zuri's hair while telling silly jokes. The man who had stepped into her life when she was tired of being alone and promised to carry her father's small logistics firm into something mighty. Amara swallowed hard. The floorboards felt cold through her feet. "Tell me exactly what you heard." Zuri's words came in bursts, like a drum too fast for a song. She had woken for water and followed the low hum of Malik's voice to the back step. The moon was caught in the leaves of the mango tree. He was on the phone, whispering but agitated, saying, "It's done. I added it, bro. She won't wake. By morning we're clear." You know what that means. Her father's money, the company, everything. No more begging banks. Then silence and a laugh that sounded wrong. "He said you'd be gone by sunrise," Zuri finished. "I was shaking so bad my teeth clacked. I ran and spilled your tea. I washed the cup. Promise. I made new tea. The honey's at the bottom like you like." Amara pressed her palm to Zuri's head, feeling the small braids under her touch. "My brave girl." Outside, a truck groaned past on the Lekki Expressway. A stray dog barked, then stopped. Inside, time collected in heavy pockets. Amara took one careful sip of the new tea, nothing strange, only tart warmth. The shock did not pass. It spread, pulling other truths with it like a net dragging secrets from deep water. How had she come to this night? 2 years earlier, after her father died, Amara had inherited a fleet of battered vans and a fragile web of contracts that moved rice, cement, and spare parts from Apapa to small markets all over Lagos. She'd grown up between Atlanta and Lagos, carrying 2 worlds in her voice and her walk, and she'd brought those worlds together to keep the family trade alive. Then Malik appeared, smooth and smiling, with a hustler's energy and a church boy grin. He said he had contacts at the port, that he understood supply chains, that he had seen big logistics up close in Houston and could help her expand. He fixed the leaking roof. He brought suya from the roadside stand and made her laugh when grief felt like a hand on her throat. "Amara," he told her by the lagoon one evening, "your father built something with his hands. I can help you grow it with mine." So she married him in a bright courtyard with drums beating like happy thunder. He moved through her life as if there had always been a space cut to his size there. Yet there were signs, late-night calls, new faces at the gate. The way he flinched when Uncle Emeka, the family lawyer, mentioned the trust her father had set for Zuri. The will was plain. If anything happened to Amara before Zuri turned 18, the company's shares would be held for Zuri by a board of elders. No single person in control, not even a husband. Malik had nodded to that, lips tight. "Of course," he'd said. "We're family." Money moved and didn't always come back. A van went missing for 2 days. A driver complained about strange deliveries. And Amara told herself marriage was work and business was harder. She told herself that storms pass. But now, Zuri's voice cut through every hopeful lie. Mom, if we pretend, she swallowed. If we pretend you're gone, we will see what he does. Grandma always says, when a chicken falls asleep, the hawk shows his true shadow. Let him show it. Zuri. Amara's voice was both a warning and an embrace. People do not play with death. We won't be playing, Zuri whispered. We'll be telling the truth in a way he understands. The child was 8, but she stood there like a small, steady flame. Amara remembered the proverb her father used when he thought she wasn't listening. The small calabash can still carry sweet water. She set the cup down and took Zuri's face gently. If we do this, we do it fast and we do it safe. We will not scare you more than this. We will not let danger stay in this house. Zuri nodded. I'm not scared if I'm with you. They moved quietly. Amara called one number, her voice no more than air. Uncle Emeka, please come. Bring Mama Ifeoma. Come through the back. No sirens. He wanted to ask questions. She said only, trust me. He said, on my way, and hung up. In this house, trust had to be moved like contraband. In the kitchen, Amara emptied the safe tea again and brewed a fresh pot. No poison, nothing suspect, just hibiscus and boiling water. She poured it into the chipped white cup Malik knew she used every night. Zuri, standing on a stool, wiped the counter with a focus that belonged on a grown woman. Amara's chest squeezed at the sight. When a soft knock came on the back door, Zuri jumped. Uncle Emeka slipped in, his tie crooked, breath fogging in the night air. Mama Ifeoma's wrapper swished behind him, blue pattern shining faintly. Chukwu gozi gi? Mama breathed, pulling Zuri to her chest. What is this thing, Amara, my daughter? Amara told them in brisk pieces, like laying out tools before fixing a broken engine. There was a silence. Then Uncle Emeka's jaw set. He's always been too eager to sign papers, he said quietly. What do you need from us? Witnesses, Amara said. And if he does what I think he'll do, you call the police. Not before. He must show himself. No shouting. No heroics. Ah, Mama Ifeoma murmured, eyes sharp now. We will see whether the goat truly bleats. They set a stage that would fool a man who wanted to be fooled. They lowered the generator so the lights flickered, the kind of flicker that makes people think of bad endings. They moved Amara's favorite shawl to the foot of the couch. Mama dabbed water on Amara's forehead. Zuri squeezed the pillow so hard her knuckles blanched. Listen to me, Amara told Zuri, her voice even. I will lie down and close my eyes. You will be with Mama in the pantry. You will not come out. Not even if he calls your name. Zuri's eyes filled and steadied again. I'll be brave, she whispered. Like the tortoise who wore the drum of thunder and did not drop it. Amara smiled without showing teeth. Exactly. They heard the compound gate creak. Malik's car rolled in, engine purring. A door slammed. Keys jingled. A man who owned a house does not knock. The front door swung open on its familiar hinges. Malik's cologne, a dark, expensive sweetness, moved into the living room before he did. Queen, he called, casual, loving. You left the light on. You'll run that bill to the sky. Amara lay on the couch, shawl drawn high, cup near her hand. She let her breath slow to a whisper. She thought of baby Zuri's first wail. She thought of her father's last laugh. She thought of a road through mangroves, bright water flashing between leaves. Malik came into view, phone in one hand, the other rubbing his neck like he'd been carrying the world. He saw the cup. He saw Amara. He did not rush. He set the phone on the table and watched her for 3 long seconds. Amara? Soft. Testing. She did not move. He leaned in and touched her wrist, exactly where she knew he'd check. She stilled the beat of her own fear. His fingers held, then slid away. Amara. Louder now, but not the sound of a man losing his wife. She could hear Uncle Emeka's breath behind the pantry door. She could feel Zuri like a pulse on the other side of the wall. Malik stood. He wiped his hand on his jeans, as if something had stained it. He picked up the phone and pressed speed dial. His voice shifted, low and flat, like a knife with no shine. "It's done," he said. "Yeah, she's gone. Don't worry. By morning we'll move the papers. I told you, didn't I? All her father's things, clean. The board won't stop me. Trust me." He hung up. Without looking at Amara again, he walked to the kitchen. The fridge door sucked open, then thumped shut. Water ran. A drawer slid. He came back with the blue thermos he used when he made night juice for Zuri. Pineapple and ginger. Always sweet. Always too much. He set it on the table, and for the first time since he entered, his mouth curled into something like joy. "Zuri," he called sing-song, walking toward the hallway, toward the pantry. "Daddy made your favorite. Come and drink. You'll need strength. It's been a big night." In the pantry, Zuri froze, small hand in Mama Ifeoma's. The thermos lid clicked as he twisted it loose. The scent of pineapple leaked into the room, bright and wrong. Uncle Emeka's phone trembled in his palm. Malik stopped just outside the pantry door, the thermos tilting in his hand like a secret. "Zuri," he said again, almost tender. "Don't hide from me, baby girl." The doorknob turned. The door began to open. And on the couch, Amara kept perfectly still, every muscle screaming, as her daughter stared at the cup in Malik's hand and understood. He hadn't come back to grieve. He had come to finish the job. The pantry door inched open. A thin blade of light cut across Mama Ifeoma's wrapper and Zuri's small sandals. Malik's shadow filled the doorway before his face did. The thermos balanced in his hand like an offering. "There you are," he said softly. "My brave girl. Come. Let Daddy help you." Mama Ifeoma stepped forward, shoulder set like a wall. "She is with me," she said. "She will drink water later." Malik's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Mama Ifeoma," he said, smooth as palm oil. "It's late. Let me put her to bed. Amara would want." He stopped. His gaze flicked past the older woman to Zuri's face, reading fear and stubbornness there. "You know your mom hates when you skip your vitamins," he coaxed. "I mixed the pineapple special. Just 1 cup." Uncle Emeka slid from the pantry's dark side, blocking more of the doorway. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Leave the child," he said. For a heartbeat, nobody breathed. Then Malik chuckled, a short sound like a door latch. "Ah, lawyer," he said, and the warmth went out of his voice the way a candle goes out in a gust of harmattan wind. "You're here? At 2:30 in the morning? Strange timing." "Strange things make wise people stay awake," Emeka replied. Malik weighed his options without moving his feet. He looked at the thermos, then at the couch where Amara lay under her shawl, then back to the pantry. The friendly mask slipped. It didn't fall away. It simply went thin, and you could see what lay under it. "Fine," he said brightly. "You keep the girl company if it makes you feel useful. I have calls to make." He turned away before anyone could answer and crossed the room to the couch. Amara felt him approach. She focused on the slow river of her breath and the weight of the shawl. She counted heartbeats and thought of her father teaching her to steady a van on a muddy road. Hands gentle, eyes quiet, feet sure. If he pressed her wrist again, she would have to be stone. Malik leaned down. He did not touch her. He lifted his phone, angled the camera, and snapped 2 photos, one wide, one close. His thumbs flew. A soft ping replied from the phone's speaker. Message delivered. Zuri watched through the narrow crack, her little chest tight as a drum. She squeezed Mama Ifeoma's fingers twice. The older woman squeezed back once. Patience. Malik called someone on speaker. His voice dipped low. "Wake up. It's me." "Yes." "No, we don't need a scene. We need paperwork. I want Pastor KO'd and the registrar ready by 5. The doctor too. Bring the forms. We can do it at the house. The board meets at 9, and by then, I want those shares moving. Don't argue. Just drive." He ended the call and laughed under his breath. Not joy. Relief. In the pantry, Uncle Emeka's jaw ticked. He lifted his phone and typed in silence. then slipped it back into his pocket. He caught Mama Ifeoma's eyes. She read the message in his look. He has to hang himself with his own rope. Let him pull. Malik glanced toward the kitchen again, thinking. He unscrewed the thermos lid and poured the bright juice into a cup. The smell of sweet pineapple filled the room. He lifted it, almost toasting the air, then set it on the coffee table beside the cell phone and the photographs of his dead wife. He walked back to the pantry door and leaned casually on the frame. "Zuri," he said gently. "Sweetheart, I know this is scary, but you're safe with me. Come and sit. Drink your juice. We have to be strong together." Zuri looked past him at the cup on the table. Her stomach turned. She thought of the way he had said, "It's done," on the phone. She thought of how he had not cried. "No," she said, more breath than sound. Malik's nostrils flared. He opened the door wider, but he didn't step in. Mama Ifeoma didn't step back. For long seconds they stood there, 3 lives pressed into a doorway. "Okay," he said at last, false patience smooth as fabric. "Have it your way. I'll give you both a moment." He shut the pantry door slowly, as if doing them a kindness, the smile still stitched to his face like bad thread. As soon as the latch clicked, Zuri whispered, "Mom will be okay, right? She is the river that did not stop for stones," Mama said, stroking her cheek. "She will carry us." In the living room, Malik moved as if he was alone in his own skin. He picked up the cup of juice and, for the first time, took a sip himself, tiny, cautious. Then he set the cup down again, eyes sliding to the pantry as if judging whether anyone had seen. He pulled a second phone from his pocket, the one Amara didn't know about. He typed quickly with his head bent low, thumbs flashing. The screen's blue-white light washed his features pale. Amara, beneath the shawl, listened to that soft clicking and felt the shape of the night change. He was calling in people who could make lies official. She pictured Pastor Kode's wide hands and grave, soothing voice. She pictured the registrar with his stamp and briefcase. She pictured a doctor's cool fingers on her wrist. If the doctor was honest, the plan would end that minute. If the doctor was not honest, the night would stretch into something worse. The back gate creaked again. Tires whispered on gravel. Malik's shoulders loosened. He went to the door, stepped onto the veranda, and spoke in hushed words that carried just enough to tell the listeners inside that he was leading. "Park behind the frangipani," he murmured. "No lights. In and out. We don't need neighbors gossiping." A figure entered first. Dr. Ade, their family physician, gray at the temples, white shirt hastily tucked, small black bag in his hand. His eyes moved from Malik to the couch to the pantry and back, measuring. A second man came behind him, medium height with a square briefcase and a wary face. The registrar, one of those civil men who know where stamps sleep at night. A third man hovered by the door, collar open, Bible tucked under his arm. Pastor Kode, his eyes already full of sympathy. "It was sudden," Malik said softly, and his voice had the exact shape of sorrow. "She didn't suffer." The pastor crossed himself and whispered a prayer. The registrar looked like a man who wanted to be anywhere else. Dr. Ade went straight to the couch without drama. He set his bag down and, with steady hands, pushed back the shawl to reveal Amara's wrist. The house held its breath. His fingers touched the place where pulse lives. Amara counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dr. Ade's face did not change. His eyes flicked up just once to Malik. A tiny nod. Malik exhaled. A cold wave climbed Amara's spine. Was the nod to say there was no pulse? Or to say, "I understand what you want from me, doctor?" The pastor asked gently. Dr. Ade cleared his throat. He looked at the registrar, then at the pastor, then back to Malik, and finally at the shawl resting like a cloud over Amara's ribs. He let the quiet stretch for the length of a slow sip of water. "We will proceed with sensitivity," he said. "She appears gone." Zuri's fingers bit into Mama's palm. Uncle Emeka's hand tightened on his phone. "God comfort us," Pastor Kode murmured. "It is a heavy night," the registrar said, opening his briefcase with a click. "Sir, I will need to see the marriage certificate and your ID." There are forms for notification, and everything is ready, Malik said quickly. We keep the papers organized in the study. I will bring them now. He moved toward the hallway, then stopped, turned, and glanced at the pantry. Zuri? He called, voice raw with staged grief. Sweetheart, Pastor is here to pray. Come, let us be together. No one replied. He didn't push the door this time. He turned back to the study and disappeared down the corridor. As his footsteps faded, Dr. Ade looked at Amara again. He leaned closer than necessary. His mouth moved without sound. One word, shaped carefully, breathe. For a heartbeat, Amara didn't understand. Then she saw it, the slight tremble at the corner of the doctor's mouth, the small flecks of sweat at his hairline, the way his eyes kept darting to the hallway, calculating. He folded the shawl higher over her chest and spoke aloud for the room. We will not disturb her further, he said. Let us allow the family their final moment. He stood and turned his body half away from Malik's phone on the table. His hand, long fingers and clean nails, dropped to his bag. He took out a stethoscope, then, deliberately, took out a small folded note and slipped it under the shawl, letting it press against Amara's palm. She closed her hand on it as slowly as a tide. In the pantry, Mama Ifeoma saw the movement. Her eyes met Dr. Ade's. He did not nod. He didn't need to. She pushed the pantry door one notch wider and whispered down toward Zuri's hairline. The doctor has sense. The registrar had already arranged papers on the coffee table where the cup of juice sat. He took out a pen. Pastor K.O.'d murmured Psalm 23 in a voice that could calm goats and men alike. Then Malik came back from the study with a leather folder and a tight smile. He placed IDs, marriage certificate, and company documents in a neat stack. We shall do what we must, he said. For the company. For my daughter. For your daughter. The pastor echoed, hand on his Bible. Malik signed where the registrar pointed, hand quick and practiced. He glanced at the clock, 2:47 a.m., and tapped his foot. We should move quickly, he said. The board meets at 9. The registrar cleared his throat. I will need the death notification form signed by the attending physician. Dr. Ade's jaw tensed. He put the stethoscope to his ears, touched the bell to the shawl, barely making contact, and listened to the quiet that he chose not to hear. He pulled the earpieces out and reached for the pen. Before the nib met paper, the front gate groaned again. Everyone paused. Malik frowned. Who else is coming? He snapped. No one answered. Footsteps approached, not rushed, not slow. A woman's voice, steady and rich, drifted from the veranda. I am coming in, she said. Don't start without me. Mama Ifeoma whispered, confused. Who is that? The door opened. A woman stepped inside in a navy skirt suit and flats dusty with road. Her hair was braided close to her scalp. She held a leather bag. Not a doctor's bag, not a registrar's. Her eyes landed on the registrar's forms, then on Dr. Ade, then on the couch where Amara lay under the shawl. Good morning, she said, voice firm. I'm Detective Kemi Balagan, Lagos State Criminal Investigation Department. She held up a badge that caught the light like a blade. Malik blinked. Detective. Detective Kemi closed the door behind her, turned the deadbolt with a final click, and looked directly at Malik. We received a tip about a planned fraud involving a falsified death, she said. We were told the documents would be signed here before dawn. She glanced at the cup on the table, at the camera phone, at the registrar's trembling hands, and then at Dr. Ade's face. And we were told, she added, that the dead woman might still be breathing. Malik didn't move. His smile held, but his eyes finally showed fear. For one frozen moment, the whole room was silent. So silent that the faint hum of the refrigerator sounded like thunder. Malik's lips twitched into a laugh that never quite reached his throat. Detective, this must be a mistake, he said with an unbothered charm, stepping forward slightly. You see my wife there? He pointed casually to Amara's still form on the couch. She passed away just an hour ago. Dr. Ade confirmed it himself. What kind of fraud would a grieving husband commit? Detective Kemi didn't blink. She was in her early 30s, dark-skinned, lean, with eyes that could cut through a man's soul. Her Lagos-accented English carried authority and rhythm. "That's what I'm here to find out," she said evenly. "Dr. Ade, may I confirm your findings?" Dr. Ade swallowed, his throat working like a man deciding which truth could save him. She appeared gone," he said carefully. "I haven't signed the final report." "Then don't." The detective's voice was sharp enough to slice the night. She turned to Malik, who suddenly seemed shorter in his own living room. "Mr. Johnson, you said your wife died an hour ago. Who else was here when it happened?" Malik's jaw flexed. "Just me." She complained of feeling dizzy after taking her tea. "I tried to revive her, called the doctor, but it was too late. I can't believe this is happening." Detective Kemi's gaze flicked to the teacup on the table. "Which tea was that?" "Hibiscus," Malik said quickly. "Her favorite." Zuri, still hiding behind Mama Ifeoma, bit her lips so hard it hurt. The truth was burning inside her chest like a trapped bird. She wanted to scream, "He's lying," but Mama's hand rested gently on her shoulder, steady, firm. "Not yet." The detective took a slow step closer to the table. She picked up the cup by its rim, sniffed, and frowned. "Strange. This scent doesn't match what I know of hibiscus." Dr. Ade cleared his throat. "I noticed the same thing earlier." Malik's eyes flashed. "Are you implying something?" "I don't imply," the detective said calmly. "I confirm." "Officer." A second later, a uniformed officer entered, carrying a small forensic kit. Malik's bravado faltered just a little. "This is absurd," he snapped. "You can't just walk in here and—" "I have a warrant," Kemi interrupted, producing a folded document from her blazer. "Signed and stamped by Magistrate Adalai. You're free to read it, if you can stop sweating long enough." Laughter rippled faintly from the kitchen where Uncle Emeka stood watching. Malik's voice broke into a dangerous whisper. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but my wife is dead, and I deserve respect." Detective Kemi's eyes hardened. "We'll see if she's dead." She turned to Dr. Ade. "Doctor, you said she appeared gone. I'd like you to check again. Thoroughly." Dr. Ade hesitated only a second, then nodded. "Of course." He knelt beside the couch, lifted the shawl gently, and placed his stethoscope against Amara's chest. The seconds stretched like years. The soft tap of the stethoscope echoed in every heart in that room. Then he straightened, and the smallest smile ghosted across his lips. "Detective," he said, voice steady, "this woman is alive." The air cracked. Mama Ifeoma gasped aloud. Uncle Emeka whispered, "Thank God." Malik staggered back 2 steps, color draining from his face. "What? That's impossible." Amara opened her eyes slowly. For a long moment, she said nothing, just looked at Malik. Looked at the man she once called husband, the man who had tried to steal her life. "Hello, Malik," she said finally, her voice soft but cold as midnight. "Miss me?" Malik froze. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Detective Kemi turned to her officers. "You heard it yourselves. Mrs. Johnson is alive. Place Mr. Johnson under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to defraud." The officers moved swiftly. Malik stumbled backward, bumping the coffee table. The poisoned pineapple juice sloshed dangerously close to the edge. "No, wait, it's not what it looks like," Malik shouted, voice cracking. "She's lying. They're all lying." "Then maybe," Amara said, sitting up fully, "you can explain why my tea smelled of poison, or why you called someone right after saying I was dead." Zuri burst out of the pantry then, running to her mother. "Mommy!" Amara caught her, holding her close. The room seemed to spin around that small, fierce hug, the child who had saved her mother's life. Malik's knees gave way. He sank to the floor as 2 officers handcuffed him. Detective Kemi picked up his phone from the table, scrolling through recent calls. Well, A contact saved as Tund backup plan. We'll enjoy questioning him. Malik's face twisted in desperation. Amara, you have to listen. Everything I did was for us. For Zuri. Your father's company was drowning. And, by killing me? Amara shot back, her voice rising for the first time. By poisoning the woman who trusted you with her home, her child, her heart? Please, take him away, Detective Kemi said. As the officers dragged him out, Malik's voice echoed down the hallway. Wild, broken. Amara, you'll regret this. You can't raise that girl alone. You'll need me. The gate slammed. His shouting faded into the Lagos night. When the last sound died, the room was left trembling. Dr. Ade let out a long breath. You have a brave child, Amara. The kind you only meet once in a lifetime. Amara pulled Zuri closer, tears finally breaking free. She saved me, she whispered. She heard him on the phone. She threw away the poisoned tea before I drank it. Detective Kemi's face softened. Smart girl, she said quietly. You should be proud. And I suggest you both rest tonight. Tomorrow we'll record full statements at the station. For now, you're safe. But Amara didn't feel safe, not yet. Because when the detective turned to leave, Amara noticed something small and out of place. Malik's second phone, the one Detective Kemi hadn't picked up. It was hidden under the edge of the couch, screen blinking once before going dark. She reached for it and saw one unread message. From Tund Backup Plan. Text. Are we still going ahead with the second phase? You promised me half when she's gone. Amara's hand trembled. Second phase? Her eyes met Uncle Emeka's. It's not over, she whispered. Zuri tugged her sleeve. Mom, what does he mean, second phase? Amara's voice barely came out. I don't know, baby, but we'll find out. And as the dawn crept through the curtains, washing the room in gray light, Amara realized the nightmare had only just begun. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from: Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, the US, or anywhere in the world, and what you would have done if you overheard that shocking phone call. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the story so more people can experience it too. The early morning light crept through the torn curtains of the Johnsons' sitting room. The air still smelled faintly of hibiscus tea and fear. Amara sat on the couch with Zuri asleep in her lap, one small hand clutching her mother's wrapper. Detective Kemi stood by the window, talking in a low voice to her team outside. The sound of police radios cracked in the distance, blending with the first roosters crowing in the neighborhood. When she finished, she turned back toward Amara, her expression calm but watchful. Mrs. Johnson, she said, I'll need that second phone you found. Could be key evidence. Amara handed it over. He called this man Tund. Said something about a second phase. What does that mean? The detective's brow furrowed. That's what we're trying to find out. We've traced the number to a man named Tund Oiken. He's been linked to a few business fraud cases, but nothing ever stuck. If your husband was planning to transfer assets, it's possible this man was his partner or worse. Amara brushed a hand over Zuri's braids, her voice heavy. How did I not see what he was? How did I let this happen under my roof? Mama Ifioma, sitting nearby, shook her head softly. My daughter, the snake wears the color of the grass so the bird will not notice. Don't blame yourself. The evil is his. Uncle Emeka leaned forward. Kemi, what happens now? You'll hold him till you find this Tund. Detective Kemi nodded. He's in custody, but men like Malik always have friends ready to clean their tracks. We'll keep your family under protection until we confirm it's safe. Amara looked toward the door, her chest tight. I don't want Zuri anywhere near that house again. You won't have to, Kemi assured. You'll both stay at a safe location until this investigation ends. But I need you to remember, Malik was desperate. If there's a second phase, it means someone else might be moving the pieces he set up. At that, Amara's eyes hardened. Then we'll find them first. By noon, the police had cleared the compound. Neighbors gathered at the gates, whispering about the flashing lights and the strange scene from the night before. Some said Amara had risen from the dead. Others said Malik had joined a secret cult. The truth was stranger than both. Amara stood by the veranda, Zuri holding her hand, watching as officers sealed the living room with yellow tape. "Mom," Zuri whispered. "Will Daddy come back?" Amara knelt beside her, brushing a braid from her cheek. "He won't hurt us again. You were brave, my love. You saved me." Zuri's eyes glistened. "I just didn't want to lose you. When I heard him talking on the phone, I was so scared. My legs felt like jelly." Amara hugged her tight. "You were scared, but you acted. That's what courage is." Mama Ifioma, who had been quietly watching, sighed. "The ancestors gave you a wise child. You must listen to her heart always." Uncle Emeka joined them, carrying a small envelope. "Amara," he said. While the police were searching the study, they found this in Malik's drawer. He handed it to her. Inside were printed bank statements, several property documents, and a small folded letter with her name written on it. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. "Amara, if you're reading this, it means something went wrong. I never wanted it this way, but I had no choice. The company is dying. The debts are drowning us. Your father's old partners won't help, and the bank is threatening foreclosure. I did what I had to do. You'll hate me, but at least you and Zuri will have a future. Don't try to understand. Just know that everything I did for you." "Malik," Amara's stomach twisted. "He's lying," she murmured. "He wasn't saving us. He was saving himself." Emeka frowned. "Yes, but this letter might make the public sympathize with him. If this reaches court, his lawyers will claim mental distress or business desperation. We'll need to prove intent." Detective Kemi, returning from the patrol car, nodded. "We'll handle that. The forensic team already confirmed there were traces of pesticide in the first teacup." "Pesticide," Mama Ifioma exclaimed, crossing herself. "Chinik." He would have sent her to the grave indeed. Kemi sighed. "He was clever enough to dilute it. That's why the smell was faint. But we have evidence now, and with your testimony, he won't get away with it." Still, something gnawed at Amara's mind. "Detective, what if this Tund tries to finish what Malik started?" Kemi's lips tightened. "That's why we're moving you both tonight. We've traced his last call to a warehouse in Aja. My men are already on the way there." Amara nodded, pulling Zuri close again. "If he comes for us, I won't hide this time." By evening, they were relocated to a safe house on the outskirts of Lagos, an old government bungalow with iron gates and 2 plainclothes officers stationed outside. Inside, the rooms were sparse but clean. Zuri sat on the edge of the bed, hugging her stuffed rabbit. "Mom, do you think Daddy ever loved us?" she asked quietly. Amara paused, then sat beside her. "I think the man we loved changed. Greed can turn love into poison if you let it grow too long." Zuri nodded slowly. "Like the tea." Amara smiled sadly. "Exactly like the tea." They ate in silence for a while, the hum of the ceiling fan filling the air. Then, Amara's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart skipped. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A distorted male voice came through, low and threatening. "You think you've won, Mrs. Johnson. But Malik wasn't the only one who wanted your company." Amara froze. "Who is this?" The voice chuckled darkly. "You'll know soon enough. Check your gate in 10 minutes. The line went dead. Amara's pulse raced. "Zuri," she whispered. "Stay in the room. Lock the door." "Mom, now." She moved to the window and pulled the curtain aside. The gate outside was still. The guards stood by the entrance, alert. But then, a black van turned slowly into the street, its headlights off. Amara's stomach dropped. "Oh no." She ran to the front door. "Officers! Someone's coming." The guards stepped forward, guns raised. The van stopped just short of the gate. The driver's door opened. A tall man in a dark hoodie stepped out, his face hidden. "Who are you?" one officer demanded. The man didn't answer. He reached into his pocket, and before anyone could react, tossed something small and black over the gate. It landed on the ground with a metallic clink. Everyone froze. Then, a faint beeping started. Bomb! One of the officers shouted. They dove for cover as a sharp blast tore through the night, smoke and dust filling the air. The gate flew open, half its frame ripped apart. Inside, Amara shielded Zuri as the windows rattled. When she looked up, coughing, she saw a shadow move through the smoke at the gate. Not Malik, someone bigger, someone who knew exactly where she was hiding. The echo of the explosion rolled through the street, rattling windows 3 houses away. Smoke hung thick in the air, curling through the safe house like a ghost refusing to leave. "Stay down!" shouted one of the officers, coughing as he reloaded his weapon. The other scrambled to the front door, eyes wide, scanning through the haze. Amara pulled Zuri under the dining table, wrapping both arms around her trembling daughter. "It's okay, baby, it's okay," she whispered, even though her heart was pounding so hard it hurt. "Mom, is he back?" Zuri asked, her small voice shaking. Amara didn't answer. She didn't know. Through the smoke at the broken gate, a shadow emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark hoodie and gloves. He walked with slow confidence, stepping over twisted metal like he owned it. The officers shouted warnings. "Stop where you are. Hands up." The figure didn't stop. One of the officers fired a warning shot into the ground, the bang cracking through the night. But the intruder just raised his right hand, and with terrifying calm, threw something small and round toward the porch. Another explosion, smaller, but closer. The blast knocked one officer backward into the wall, sending dust and debris through the corridor. "God, no!" Amara whispered. She turned to Zuri. "Run to the kitchen and hide behind the fridge. Don't move until I come for you. You hear me?" Zuri's eyes widened. "But, Mom..." "Go, Zuri." The girl darted toward the kitchen, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Amara waited until she disappeared, then grabbed a metal mop handle from the corner. It was all she had. The front door creaked. The figure stepped inside, brushing off the smoke. For a moment, Amara could only see his outline. Tall, dark-skinned, muscles heavy beneath his sweatshirt. Then the light flickered, and she saw his face. It wasn't Malik, but he looked like him, or rather, like Malik's older brother, Tund Oiken. Amara froze. "You!" Tund smiled, slow and cruel. "Ah, so you remember me. Malik said you'd probably recognize my face. Shame I have to see it tonight under this kind of light. What do you want?" Amara demanded, voice trembling. "What's mine?" he said simply, taking another step inside. "Your husband may have been stupid, but he had a deal with me. I financed his business schemes while he promised me a share of your father's company. He failed. And when he failed, that debt became yours. You think killing me will fix that?" Tund chuckled. "Oh, Amara, it's not about fixing. It's about cleaning. Once you're gone, no one will contest the signatures Malik prepared. The company will transfer cleanly to my name. You were supposed to die last night, but it seems your little daughter ruined that plan." Amara's blood ran cold. "Leave Zuri out of this." "Oh, I won't hurt her," he said casually. "Children adapt. Once you're gone, she'll grow up under my care. Rich, comfortable, never knowing what really happened." The way he said it made Amara's stomach turn. Then she noticed something. The faint sound of a second engine outside, approaching fast. A car. Headlights flashed through the window. Tund turned sharply, cursing under his breath. So they called for backup. Amara seized her chance. She swung the mop handle as hard as she could, connected with his shoulder hard enough to make him stumble. She didn't wait. She ran toward the kitchen. "Zuri!" she cried. "Run out the back." Tund roared, catching her arm before she reached the hallway. He slammed her against the wall, fury in his eyes. "You think you can fight me with a mop?" he growled. "Not fight," she gasped. "Just delay." Then a voice thundered from the front door. "Lagos State Police. Drop your weapon." Detective Kemi burst through the smoke, gun drawn, 2 more officers behind her. Tund cursed and shoved Amara aside. She hit the floor as gunfire erupted, sharp, deafening cracks echoing through the living room. Bullets splintered wood and tore through plaster. Down! Kemi shouted. Get the child! Amara crawled toward the kitchen, coughing from the smoke. Zuri was huddled behind the fridge, eyes squeezed shut. Amara scooped her up and ducked behind the counter. Then silence. When she looked up, Tund was gone. The back door swung open, the night breeze slipping in like a whisper. Detective Kemi motioned for her team to cover the rear. He's on foot. He can't be far. 2 officers sprinted outside. The detective turned back to Amara. Are you hurt? Amara shook her head, still clutching Zuri. He said he financed Malik's crimes. That the company belongs to him now. Kemi's jaw tightened. Then he's even more dangerous than we thought. We'll issue a full warrant. But for now, we're moving you both again. Somewhere no one but my unit knows. Mama Ifeoma, who had been in the next room praying through the chaos, stumbled out and hugged them both tightly. Oh, my children, this is no ordinary battle. The evil is thick as oil. Kemi holstered her gun. It's more than evil, Mama. It's organized crime. Malik's death plot was just one piece of it. She looked at Amara. He was laundering money through your father's company. Wasn't he? Amara blinked. I think so. The financial papers Emeka found, there were transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Maybe tons. Kemi nodded grimly. Then we'll find them. You have my word. Zuri tugged her mother's wrapper. Mommy, will he come again? Amara looked at her, those bright, brave eyes that had already seen too much, and forced herself to smile. If he does, she whispered, he'll meet a mother who isn't afraid anymore. Later that night, after the police relocated them to a second safe house in Ikeja, Amara sat by the window, unable to sleep. The stars shimmered faintly above the city haze. Zuri was curled up in bed beside Mama Ifeoma, her tiny hand clutching her rabbit as if holding on to peace itself. Amara's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A whisper came through. You should have stayed dead, Amara. The line went dead before she could reply. Her body went cold. She turned to the window and froze. Across the street, parked under a broken streetlight, was a black motorcycle. His rider sat still, helmet on, watching the house. Amara's breath caught. She reached for her phone to call Kemi, but when she looked again, the motorcycle was gone. Only the faint echo of its engine lingered in the night, and Amara realized the nightmare wasn't over yet. It had just changed shape. The next morning arrived heavy and gray, as though the sky itself knew danger hadn't passed. Amara awoke to the distant hum of traffic and the rhythmic whoosh of ceiling fans spinning lazily above her. She turned on her side. Zuri still slept, curled up like a kitten beside Mama Ifeoma, her fingers wrapped tightly around her stuffed rabbit. For a brief second, Amara let herself believe it was over, that maybe the worst had passed. But then the smell of burnt metal from last night's explosion filled her memory again. The call, the motorcycle, the whisper, you should have stayed dead. She sat up abruptly, heart pounding. Uncle Emeka entered quietly, carrying a breakfast tray, tea, bread, and a small plate of akara. You need strength, Amara, he said softly. The police are working round the clock. Kemi's team caught 2 men near Aja at dawn. They confessed to knowing Tund. Amara's eyes widened. Did they find him? Emeka shook his head. No. But one of them said something strange, that Tund is planning to leave Lagos by tonight. They mentioned an old warehouse at the edge of Makoko. That's where he's keeping something important. Something that can end it all, they said. And what? She asked. Emeka sighed. We don't know yet. Kemi is going there herself. She asked me to tell you to stay inside and not open the door for anyone. Amara nodded, though every part of her wanted to go. He's not going to stop until I'm gone, she murmured. Mama Ifeoma, who had been quietly listening, raised her head. Then maybe it's time we stop running. A snake cannot grow fatter if you keep cutting only its shadow. Emeka frowned. Mama, you're not suggesting. I am, she interrupted firmly. That woman has been running since the night her husband raised a poisoned cup against her. But you cannot live your life waiting for evil to come back. Sometimes, you must chase it into the bush and burn its nest. Amara stared at her mother, then at Zuri sleeping peacefully. Something hardened in her chest. She stood. You're right. I'm done hiding. Emeka grabbed her arm. Amara, no. This isn't your fight anymore. Let the police handle it. Amara's voice was steady. It became my fight the moment he tried to take my daughter's mother away. Malik and Tund both thought I was weak. That's why they lost. I won't lose now. Hours later, the sky dimmed to a smoky orange as evening fell over Lagos. Detective Kemi's car pulled up outside the Makoko warehouse. A long, rusted building near the lagoon, half hidden by tall grass and decaying boats. Her team moved cautiously, weapons raised. The place smelled of oil, salt, and old wood. This is it, said Sergeant Igioma, her second in command. No guards in sight. Kemi frowned. Too quiet. Stay sharp. They moved in through a side entrance, stepping over broken crates and coiled ropes. The interior was dark except for a faint light flickering near the center. And then they saw it. A table covered in files, computers, and money-stuffed bags. A laptop screen glowed with a paused video. Malik and Tund, sitting in the Johnson's office, arguing about signatures. Kemi leaned closer, hitting play. Malik, you said once it's done, we'll split 50-50. Tund, plans changed. You get your money, I take the company. Malik, you think I'll let you cheat me? Tund, you'll do whatever I tell you, brother. Remember who cleaned your debts. Kemi's eyes narrowed. So it's confirmed. They were in this together from the start. Before she could say more, a voice came from the shadows. Well, the famous detective finally joins the game. Tund stepped out from behind a pillar, gun in hand, smirking. His dark hoodie was gone. Now he wore a clean white shirt rolled up at the sleeves, calm as if he'd been waiting. Kemi raised her weapon instantly. Drop it, Tund. It's over. He chuckled. Over? Detective, you're just in time for the real show. He gestured toward a corner of the warehouse, where a small laptop sat open, connected to a detonator. The timer blinked red. 9 minutes and 43 seconds. Kemi's blood ran cold. What have you done? Tund smiled. You see, that explosion last night was a warning. This one will erase every trace of what's left of Malik's deals, the company accounts, and anyone who tries to stop me. By the time it's over, the world will believe Amara Johnson fled Lagos after faking her own death. She's alive because your brother failed, Kemi snapped. And you'll fail too. Tund tilted his head. Maybe, but the fun part is, I'm not the only one who knows the codes. Malik made backups, and he's talking again. Kemi blinked. Talking? What do you mean? Tund grinned. He's not in your custody anymore, is he? Her chest tightened. She grabbed her radio. Control, confirm. Status on Malik Johnson. The reply came with static. Detective, the prisoner transport from Alagbon was ambushed on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Malik Johnson is missing. Kemi's hand went numb. Tund smirked. 2 brothers. 2 unfinished stories. Now, which one will she meet first? At the safe house that same evening, Amara was pacing near the window when her phone vibrated. A new message. Unknown number again. Hello, my queen. Miss me? Let's finish our tea. The words froze her blood. Emeka, she shouted. He's out. Before anyone could respond, the power went out. The house plunged into darkness. Zuri screamed from the bedroom. Mom! Amara snatched the flashlight on the shelf and ran toward her. Zuri, stay behind me. A noise came from the back door. A slow creak. Mama Ifioma gasped. The door! Amara turned, heart racing. A silhouette stood against the weak moonlight filtering in through the doorway. He stepped forward, dragging something metallic behind him. A voice followed. Smooth, familiar. Did you really think pretending to die would stop me, Amara? Her breath caught. It was Malik. Dirty, bruised, but alive. And in his right hand was a small pistol. Malik, she whispered. Don't do this. It's over. He laughed bitterly. Over? No. You destroyed everything I built. You humiliated me, called me a monster in front of our daughter. She saved my life from your poison. Malik's eyes flashed with madness. Because of you, I lost everything. You should have just died quietly. Now you'll die screaming. Zuri clung to her mother, trembling. Daddy, please, don't hurt Mommy. Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, confusion, maybe love. But it vanished as fast as it came. He cocked the gun. And then, a voice from behind him said coldly, "Drop it, Malik." Detective Kemi stepped into the doorway, her gun aimed steady, her clothes dusty from the warehouse. "This ends tonight." Malik turned slowly, smirking. "You're late, Detective. My brother already left you a parting gift." Her eyes darted to his jacket pocket and saw the blinking red light. A detonator. "Don't!" she shouted, rushing forward. Malik pressed the button. A deep rumble shook the ground beneath them. Zuri screamed. The house lights flickered violently. From somewhere in the distance came the sound of another explosion, this time bigger, rolling through the night like thunder. The warehouse. Kemi's radio crackled. The Makoko site, detonation confirmed. Smoke began rising into the Lagos sky, visible even from miles away. Malik laughed, the sound hollow and broken. "If I can't have peace, neither can she." But before he could raise the gun again, Amara lunged, grabbing his wrist, forcing it aside. The gun went off, the bullet splintering a window. Kemi tackled him from behind, knocking him to the floor. He struggled, screaming curses, until Kemi struck him across the jaw with the butt of her weapon. Malik went still. Zuri was crying, clutching her mother's neck. "It's okay, baby," Amara whispered, shaking. "It's over. This time, it's really over." But as the smoke from Makoko lit up the night sky, Detective Kemi looked out the shattered window and muttered, "Maybe not. We still don't know if Tun survived that blast." Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Backhand index pointing down, medium dark skin tone. Tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so you won't miss what happens next. The police sirens faded into the Lagos night, swallowed by the hum of distant traffic and the low cry of restless birds. Inside the shattered safe house, Amara sat on the cold tile floor, Zuri cradled against her chest. The little girl had cried herself to exhaustion. Now she just stared at the flickering shadows on the wall, silent and pale. Detective Kemi stood near the broken window, her jaw tight as she spoke into her radio. "Yes, we've got Amara Johnson in custody again. He's alive. No, I repeat, alive. Get him straight to Alagbon under full guard. I want eyes on him every second." "Understood." She clicked off the radio and turned to Amara. "You're safe now. He won't get another chance." Amara's voice trembled, but there was strength beneath the cracks. "What about Tund? Did they find his body?" Kemi shook her head. "The warehouse is still burning. We recovered 2 of his men, both dead, but no sign of him yet. My team says part of the building collapsed into the lagoon. It might take days before we know." Amara's fingers tightened around Zuri's hand. "Detective, I've seen men like him. If we can't find him, he's alive." Kemi met her gaze and didn't argue. "Then we'll keep looking." By morning, the safe house had been completely cleared. Kemi insisted on relocating Amara, Zuri, and Mama Ifeoma to a secure police guest facility in Ikeja GRA. There, for the first time in days, the walls felt solid. No smoke, no explosions, no poison. But peace didn't come easily. Every creak in the hallway made Amara flinch. Every phone vibration made her heart race. Even Zuri, once playful and bright, now followed her mother everywhere. Silent, always holding on to her wrapper. Mama Ifeoma tried to fill the silence with prayer, but fear sat in the room like a fourth person. "God will not let wickedness win," she said softly one afternoon, holding her rosary. "You will rise again, Amara. This story will not end in fear." Amara nodded but said nothing. She kept staring at the folder on the table, the same folder Emeka had brought earlier that morning. Inside were the documents Malik and Tund forged, property transfers, company seals, fake death certificates. And among them, something new. A photograph. It was recent. Taken at the Makoko warehouse just hours before the explosion. Tun stood beside two foreign-looking men and a set of large metal crates marked with faded letters. AJL Logistics Export, Lagos to Dakar. Emeka's voice echoed in her mind from that morning. We think they were moving something more than money, Amara. Possibly stolen goods, maybe even weapons. Your father's company was their cover. Amara closed her eyes. They used my father's name for this. Tears pricked her eyes. Not of fear, but of rage. I can't let it end like this. I have to clear his legacy. That evening, Detective Kemi arrived with updates. She was tired, her uniform dusty from the day's search. We've checked the blast site again, she said, setting her notepad down. The divers found Tun's car submerged about 50 meters from the pier. The doors were open. No body inside. Amara's heart sank. He's still alive. Maybe, Kemi admitted. But even if he is, he's wounded. That explosion was massive. He won't get far. Amara looked at her. You don't know men like him. He'll crawl through fire if it means revenge. Kemi studied her for a moment. You're right, which is why we're moving Zuri tonight. Just as a precaution. Amara blinked. Move her? Where? Somewhere safe. A children's safe facility under state protection. Just for a few days. Amara's voice rose. No, you can't separate us. Amara, listen to me, Kemi said calmly. Tund might come after you. He won't hesitate to use Zuri to get what he wants. If he's alive, you need to think like him. We'll protect her. But right now, she's safest away from you. Zuri stirred on the bed. Mommy, what's wrong? Amara knelt beside her, smoothing her braids. Nothing, my love. Just rest. But her hands were shaking. Mama Ifioma touched her shoulder. The detective is right, my daughter. Let the child be safe for now. A mother's strength is in protecting life, even from herself. Amara's chest ached, but she nodded. All right, but I'll go with her. Wherever she's moved, I'll follow. Kemi sighed. Fine. We'll arrange it quietly. Night fell again. At 11:45 p.m., a police van rolled through the quiet back roads of Ikeja, carrying Amara, Zuri, and two officers to the new safe site. Rain had begun to fall, a thin drizzle that turned the streets to mirrors of light. Inside the van, Zuri rested her head on Amara's lap, half asleep. Mommy, she murmured. When will we go home? Amara stroked her hair. Soon, baby. When everything is right again. The driver's radio crackled faintly, but no one spoke. The rhythmic thump of the wipers filled the silence. Then, out of nowhere, a loud bang. The van jerked violently. Flat tire! Shouted the officer beside the driver. The vehicle screeched to a halt. The officers stepped out into the rain, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Amara held Zuri tighter. Stay here, okay? But something about the night felt wrong. The rain was falling harder now, washing the street clean. And yet, in the distance, through the sheets of water, she could see faint red lights. Motorcycle lights. 3 of them. Riding fast. Oh God! She whispered. It's them. Ma'am, get down! Yelled one officer, drawing his gun. The motorcycles roared closer. Gunfire split the night. Amara screamed and covered Zuri's head. Bullets shattered the windshield. The officer beside them fell, hit in the shoulder. Go! Shouted the driver. We're compromised. But before he could start the engine again, a bullet tore through the glass and struck him. He slumped forward, blood splattering across the dashboard. The van swerved, crashing into a gutter with a loud crunch. Amara dragged Zuri out through the broken side door, stumbling into the rain. Run, baby, run! They sprinted into a narrow alleyway between 2 walls, splashing through puddles. Behind them, engines roared and headlights swung wildly. Zuri cried out, Mommy! They're coming! Amara grabbed her hand. Don't stop! They burst into a small, muddy clearing behind a row of shacks. And there, Standing under the rain, half his face burned from the explosion but his smile still cruel, was Tund. He raised a gun. "Hello again, Mrs. Johnson." Amara froze. Her breath caught. Zuri whimpered. "Mommy." Tund tilted his head. "Your husband failed me. But you won't. You'll finish what he started. Sign the final transfer. And this all ends. You think I'll ever give you my father's company?" He grinned, stepping closer. "You won't have a choice. Because if you don't—" He pointed the gun at Zuri. "She'll drink the tea this time." Rain dripped down Amara's face. Her heart thundered in her chest. She took a slow step forward, shielding her daughter. "Let her go, Tund. This ends tonight." "Agreed," he said. "One way or another." The two stared at each other through the rain. One desperate for vengeance, the other for survival. And then, in the distance, sirens began to wail again. Detective Kemi's voice shouted through a megaphone. "Tund Oiken, drop your weapon." But Tund didn't lower the gun. He just smiled wider. "Too late, detective," he murmured. "This story already has its ending." The rain poured harder, turning the muddy ground into slick, red clay. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made time slow and sound stretch thin. Tund stood in the open, half his face burned, the gun steady in his hand. His clothes clung to his body, soaked and torn. Amara's wrapper was drenched too, but she didn't move. She stood between him and her daughter, trembling. Not from fear this time, but from fury. "Step aside, Amara," Tund said, his voice sharp, cutting through the rain. "You can't protect her forever. I already did what your brother couldn't." "I survived," she said, voice low and fierce. "You want my father's company? Then you'll have to kill me first." Tund smirked. "You think I won't?" "I know you won't," she said, eyes locked on his. "Because you need me alive to sign those documents. Isn't that right?" His expression flickered, just for a moment. A tiny crack in his confidence. The sound of police sirens grew louder, echoing through the narrow streets. From the far end of the alley, Detective Kemi and her team emerged, weapons raised. "Tund Oiken," she shouted again. "Put the gun down now. You are completely surrounded." Tund glanced around. 3 officers flanked the left side. 2 more moved in from behind the shacks. He laughed. A cold, ragged laugh that didn't sound human anymore. "You think I'm scared of prison?" he said. "I built one for myself years ago." His hand twitched on the trigger. Amara saw it, the second before it happened, and lunged forward, wrapping her arms around his wrist. The gun went off, the bullet grazing her shoulder. She screamed but held on. "Mommy!" Zuri cried. The officers rushed forward, shouting commands. "Drop it! Don't move!" Tund roared, shoving Amara back. She stumbled and fell into the mud. He swung the gun toward her, but a single shot rang out from behind him before he could fire. He froze. The gun slipped from his fingers. A crimson bloom spread across his chest. He staggered, turned slightly, and saw Detective Kemi lowering her pistol, her face cold and steady. "No more running," she said quietly. Tund's knees buckled. He fell into the mud beside Amara, rain washing over him as he gasped for breath. You'll never stop it," he rasped, his voice breaking. "The network, it's bigger than us." Then his eyes rolled back, and the rain drowned his final words. The world went still. Only the rain spoke. Detective Kemi holstered her weapon and rushed to Amara's side. "You're hit. Hold still. It's just a scratch," Amara panted, clutching her shoulder. "Is he?" Kemi nodded. "He's gone. It's over, Amara." Amara turned, trembling, and saw Zuri standing a few feet away, eyes wide with shock. She opened her arms, and the little girl ran into them. They clung to each other as if letting go would make the nightmare return. Mama Ifioma and Uncle Emeka arrived moments later with backup officers. When Mama saw her daughter's blood, she wailed, "Chinik, my God, what more will you test us with?" Amara smiled weakly through tears. "It's over, Mama. We're alive." Detective Kemi looked at the lifeless body of Tund, her face grave. "We'll need to dig into what he said," she murmured to Emeka. "If there's a bigger network behind this, Lagos isn't safe yet." Emeka nodded grimly. "I'll help however I can. But tonight, let's get this family home." 2 weeks later, the Johnson compound was quiet again. Fresh paint covered the scorch marks near the gate. New flowers grew along the walkway. Amara stood in the courtyard with Zuri beside her, watching workers hang a new sign above the entrance. Ifeoma and Zuri Logistics Limited. Her late father's name, now joined with her daughter's. The business had survived. Malik's forged documents were destroyed. The police uncovered the rest of Tun's syndicate, money launderers and corrupt agents who had used her company for smuggling. Detective Kemi had been promoted for the case. Malik remained in prison, awaiting trial. But Amara didn't think of vengeance anymore. She thought of peace. "Mommy," Zuri said softly, "are we safe now?" Amara knelt beside her and smiled. "Yes, my love, we're safe." Zuri tilted her head. "Do you still hate Daddy?" Amara sighed, looking toward the sky. "No, hate only makes your heart heavy. I just hope he remembers that love without truth always becomes poison." Zuri nodded solemnly. "Like the tea." Amara smiled sadly. "Exactly like the tea." They stood there together, mother and daughter, the afternoon sun spilling golden light across the yard. Behind them, Mama Ifeoma and Uncle Emeka chatted quietly on the veranda. For the first time in months, laughter floated through the house again. Light, honest, and alive. Amara wrapped her arm around Zuri's shoulders. "You saved my life, you know," she said. "I'll never forget that." Zuri looked up, eyes bright. "And you saved mine." Amara chuckled. "Then we're even." The sound of a car horn drew their attention. Detective Kemi stepped out of a black SUV, smiling as she approached. "I came to deliver some good news," she said, shaking Amara's hand. "The court has officially restored your full ownership of the company, and the governor wants to commend Zuri for her bravery." Zuri blushed and hid behind her mother's wrapper. "Me?" Kemi laughed. "Yes, you. Brave girls grow into strong women, just like your mom." Amara smiled. "Thank you, Detective, for everything." Kemi nodded. "You earned this peace, Amara. Keep it." As she turned to leave, Zuri tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, can we go make tea now?" Amara hesitated, then smiled. "Yes, but this time you make it." Zuri grinned and ran inside. Amara followed, pausing only once to look around the quiet compound. The place that had seen betrayal, fear, and pain. Now it breathed life again. She whispered softly to herself, "No matter how dark the night, the morning always comes." And as she stepped inside to join her daughter, the sunlight caught the teacup on the counter, glinting red like the first spark of dawn. Tell us your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Lagos, Accra, Nairobi, Johannesburg, Atlanta, or anywhere across the world. Globe showing Europe, Africa. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the story to support more incredible African tales like this one. Because every story, no matter how dark, deserves its dawn. Sunrise.